Hello and welcome back to my channel. So what am I wearing? I'm wearing something that I'm actually gonna DIY today. Change it into this cutout dress in everywhere, from like Shein to like Boohoo to like all these boutiques, and I want to DIY it. So why not, right? So let's get to it. So let's start by separating the front and the back by basically seam ripping this dress. So I'm gonna try to seam rip it with the seam ripper. But if that don't work, I'm just gonna go ahead and cut the seams because you see that it is serged. So sometimes when you have serger threads, it's hard to get through. It's hard to separate the two. But as you can see, it's really not going as planned. So I'm just gonna throw away the seam ripper and just get started cutting. So I'm just gonna cut off the serge area, and thank God that is a stretch material because I can just stretch it out when I'm inside of it, if that makes sense. But basically it will just stretch and give me more ease, what I mean. So yeah, I'm just gonna just cut straight down on the serge piece and then separate the front and back. So that is done. Now I'm going to separate the top and the bottom in a way where the bottom will be more of the bottom of the dress and the top will just be the top of the dress. I know that sounds really stupid for me to explain, but you'll see why. So I'm just going to basically separate it and start preparing for the skirt. So what we're going to do is separate the top and the bottom. So I'm going to take the bottom from the top and start working with the front of the dress. So I'm just going to flip it together and I'm going to lengthen my measuring tape around it in a way of where I want the cutout to look like. So since the cutout is like a little curved line and I kind of don't want too much to be showing anyways, so I'm just going to make it like a little bit of cutout, if that makes sense. And you just basically make snippage of marking where you want it, and then I'm going to take this pen and mark around to make the curves. And you can always adjust it and make it more deeper or more revealing as you want. This is just how I want it to be. So it's customizable, if that's a word. So now that I have the cut the way I want it to, I'm gonna lay the back piece, well, I'm gonna lay the front piece on top of the back piece and basically pin those two raw edges together so I can stitch these puppies together and make a skirt to the dress. Oh yeah. So now that I'm done pinning it together, let's send it to the sewing machine. So this is what it looks like. I'm very, content with it. I am gonna have to cut off the piece in the back so it can have that dip look, but in all, it's working out. Asking me, or you may be thinking, what am I doing? I'm actually cutting up the last bit of my dress, which is the sleeves. And I always like to use my sleeves when it comes to like a dress to do like extra things. Like I'm actually gonna make bias tape out of this, and if I need extra fabric, I have extra fabric because your sleeves will come through. Basically, those sleeves will come through. Don't be sleeping on those sleeves. Now that the front and the back are stitched together and we have skirt, I am going to roll these hems, roll the raw edges over and stitch. And now that we have a clean cut on this cutout, we can start with the top of the dress. And I did not forget to cut the back of the dress. I'm just going to do that at the end. You feel me? So I do not have any patterns that mimic a V cutout. So basically I'm just going to use a bra to mimic that neckline in a sense. And like so, I'm going to be snipping it on the edge, but giving it a little bit ease, like a little ease to it. And you have yourself a V neckline. I don't know if this really called a V neckline because it's not really on your neck, it's like on your chest, but you get what I'm trying to say. It's a V. So now that we have our front and our back, I'm going to pin it together and do what I do best, stitch it together through the sewing machine, which I'm not going to be showing on video just because it's a simple sew down where the pins are. So now that we have the front and the back together on the top, I am now going to pin my bias tape that I made from my sleeve on to this raw edge. And the way you want to add this is basically wrong side up and wrong side up. So you want the wrong side of the dress, which is the bodice with the top up, and then you want the wrong side up of the bias tape on top of the wrong side of the top, which is the bodice. I know this is like science here, but you'll get it. You'll get it. Trust me. I did. And once you're done with that, you can just stitch it on, and now you can flip it to the right side, which I did, and now you can fold it over and make sure you flip the raw edges inside like I'm doing. But you don't want to just stitch it, just like fold it and start stitching. It just won't look good. So you want to tuck that raw edge inside and start pinning, and then you can just stitch that down and you have yourself a bias tape. And bias tape, basically all it do is just finish the raw edge, but you're just doing it with the same fabric. And now I need more bias tape, so I am using my sleeve again to create more. And what I am doing is making sure the bias tape is at least 2 inches to basically give myself enough rollover area to, you get what I'm saying, to roll it over and stitch it down. But now that you can see that the strips are not connected, I basically had to do that trick, which is pinning it diagonal and stitching it down and basically connecting it in that sense of manner, just so it have a consistency, if that makes sense. So now I'm just gonna attach it on and make my straps and the back of the top. You'll see what I'm talking about. I'm sorry if it don't make sense. I'm trying to explain it as well as I can. So doing these DIYs, I do need somebody to talk to. So sometimes my sister calls me or my friend calls me, and I just get entertained by doing something that I love. So don't mind me. I am on FaceTime with my sister. So like we did with the center of the top, this is the same way we're going to do the side of it to basically make the armhole and the straps and the edge in the back. So all I'm going to do is just flip it right on over again and pin it. The same old, same old. Lastly, we are going to flip over both of the straps, basically just finishing off the straps. I'm over here making things a lot more difficult than it really is. So what I'm going to do is just flip them over and make them kiss each other and pin it together. Now that your bodice and your skirt is done, now you can just basically wrap it around. So what I'm going to do is just flip it inside out, which is the top, and I'm going to lay it on the skirt. And now I'm just going to take that little piece, which is like a tongue, and wrap it around and scrunch it down, and I'm going to pin it to where it can hold. And I'm just going to do a straight stitch or a zigzag stitch, whatever it prefers for you. I did a straight stitch and I just doubled over it, if that makes sense. Very good. I can't believe that I made something out of a old dress that I had for like years now. I still remember when I bought it. I actually bought it in New York at one of those like boutique shops. Not really boutique, but like kind of like one of those rainbow shops. And I was like, ooh, I like the color, and I just bought it because it was cold too. So I'm like, well, if you like this video and you want more videos like these when I upcycle an outfit that I have already or I can thrift, leave it in the comments below and I will gladly do so. Don't forget to do me a favor and like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next video next Friday. Bye.